Companions. Everyone needs a good companion. Unless you're one of those wasteland psychos roaming solo dropping bodies like someone's keeping score. Not like I do that. What I'm saying is sometimes you need another someone around to keep you entertained and carry your shit, obviously. So companions. And I searched the Commonwealth to rate companions on their willingness to put up with me, and found a few willing participants. This week, Robert MacCready, gun for hire, ex-child mayor, sarcastic and gloomy. Not a bad resume, he's a bit rough, yeah, but he's good. After a few days, I got a feel for his way of thinking, that being morally gray, as while he does encourage me to steal, he'd rather I didn't gun down everyone we came across. He always wants me to be charismatic to get things to go my way, and after a while of having him around, I noticed that headshots had become second nature to me. So with all that in mind, I rate MacCready as cool and helpful anti-hero, but on a more personal level, he's a homie. It's week 2 of me scouring the Commonwealth for anyone brave enough to trust me and my not well thought out antics, and lo and behold, a candidate for the position approached of their own accord. As I sat enjoying a noodle cup from my boy Takahashi, candidate 2 took up the seat next to me. She was Piper. A rogue journalist, probably capable of John Wicking someone with her interview pen, and has been so dastardly herself that the Diamond City security guards used to call the jail cells Piper's Suite, so of course I was intrigued. A proposal was made. If I let her interview me, she'll tag along, and with that, we were off. It didn't take long to see what made her tick. As a journalist, she mastercrafted my speech to gain the art of the deal, and I felt surges of power when visiting new places. Having her around to celebrate these new discoveries must have really raised my blood pressure. That or the candy she's always giving me. Oh dear, did she unlock my feelings? But enough of that now. How was she as a companion? I'll give her a rating of sweet and deadly. Not bad. It's now 3 weeks since I embarked across the Commonwealth looking for compatriots to adventure with, and I've become aware of a figure looming in the shadows. Unnerved, I fled to the suburbs for refuge, where I met a respectably dapper chap named Codsworth. After sitting and enjoying some bloodleaf tea, I managed to entice him into tagging along for a week. And with Codsworth by my side, I felt unstoppable. As you may have guessed, he's a Mr. Handy, and he more than lives up to his name, as when he's not producing purified water to me for my leisure, he's usually quick to chop up and incinerate anyone who so much as speaks ill of me. He even went as far as giving me an energy shield, though it was relatively useless in most cases. He's not always on board with everything I do, but he doesn't try to stop me from doing it. Beyond that, he cracks jokes and handles threats with gusto. What a mad lad. But it's time to rate him as a companion. And I have to say, the shield was indeed lackluster, but I still rate Codsworth as one hell of a butler. The companion crusade continues into week 4 as the shadow looms ever closer. I ignored it as per usual and returned to Diamond City in search of therapy. But I found my next candidate instead. Enter Nick Valentine, a private detective with no time for anyone else's shit as he's got his own revenge arc to go on. So naturally we shook hands and I joined him on the hunt for his arch nemesis. With our bloodlust combined, we hacked through every terminal, kicked down every door, and Tommy gunned every last monster we could find, all while I cracked obscenely inappropriate jokes that Nick tried really hard not to find funny. By the time our escapades were over, I felt Nick was like a brother to me. So here's hoping he doesn't find someone else to feel that way about. As for the rating, well, I rate the Bloody Valentine as very useful. Like a reverse RoboCop with his emotions added in instead of removed.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
It's now the 5th week of companion ratings, but I'm being held hostage by the worst possible candidate, an entity known as Preston Garvey, Commonwealth Minuteman, and the most illogical individual I've come across so far. Why? Because he has an absurd amount of trust in me, so either he thinks my psychopathic tendencies are a good thing, or he's kidnapped the wrong person. Either way, there's a lot of red flags on both sides. Nevertheless, I played along as I was dragged from settlement to settlement to help the oddly similar problems that never get resolved no matter what I do, but at least I get a pat on the back from Preston as he sends me on another one of his errands. I think he enjoys breaking me. As I was stuck with him, I felt more able to take on large groups of enemies, despite my IQ dropping from him saying I'm being bad for doing what anyone else would do to survive. Finally, I managed to escape him, but I'm sure he'll return. So, with my sanity in near shambles, I give the Garvey a rating of he who must not be named. Week 6 of my companion rating dawns as I continue to recover from the wrath of Garvey. While trying to keep my distance from him, I found myself approached by a new candidate for the position. This was X688, another shadowy figure yet far more appealing, but he didn't give me a name and X688 was all I could read off of his barcode. So we went with that. Our journey began, and I quickly noticed the Sigma energy this man radiates. It started with him supporting my unhealthy addiction to armor and weapon modding before evolving to him encouraging the use of power armor and hacking. I feel he'd try convincing me to get a cybernetic augmentation if I was able to. He'd give a thumbs up when I threatened people and promoted violence, and it seemed our energy had synced to the point of giving new resistances. However, that was until I realized he hated dogs.
Good riddance.
So, final verdict, I can only rate X688 as a secret PETA spokesman. It's the 7th week of my companion ratings and I've become uncertain of my choices in companions lately. And seeing as the animal hater left me so unnerved, I thought it only right to find an animal to take his place. So behold, Dogmeat, man's best friend and loyal companion. I was tempted to crown him champion of the companions immediately, but I must remain a fair judge. So, off we ventured into the wastelands, where I quickly noticed that Dogmeat was a great choice of companion as he was the first one not to judge any of my actions. And so I could steal, kill, be an arse and an arsonist, become an alcoholic, and snort chems to my heart's content. But there was one major flaw. I couldn't stand to see him hurt, that and him always being in the way, so I made him a new home at the Red Rocket and continued my journey again. And of course I gave Dogmeat a rating of the goodest boy. Week 8 of me rating Commonwealth delinquents and their compatibility with me, and it seems I've wandered upon an interesting candidate. Introducing John Hancock, the mayor of Good Neighbor and boasting quite a strong welcoming presence. After seeing such a display, I simply had to ask him to accompany me, and he modestly obliged. And so we set off on a peculiar journey, ripe with the two of us tripping balls, exchanging witty banter,
Myself makes me feel intellectual.
laying out ruffians, and basking ourselves in radiation. And with Hancock around, I could turn that radioactive decay into primed energy fuel. But all good things must come to an end, and Hancock returned to his mayoral duties as the week closed out. So, final rating. He's a perfect travel partner, as he is the very essence of fear and loathing in the Commonwealth. It's week 9 and we're rating companions on how efficient they are to my dangerous way of living, and once again I have a stalker, but it's not Preston, thank God. No, this week we're confronting Deacon, international man of mystery and a railroad spy. When approached, he fed my ego by saying he liked how I got things done, and it worked because I invited him on an adventure where he immediately began educating me on the thrilling world of spies. This meant blending in, breaking in, bullshitting in conversations, apparently asking for some extra caps isn't becoming of a spy though, earning the trust of the people even though you never tell the truth, being sneaky, and of course, sneakily killing in style. And thanks to his lessons, I became a rogue of legend. So how does he fare on the rating? I'd say he's actually normal. Which isn't normal, so he must be hiding something, and thus he earns the rating of 10 weeks in the Commonwealth, and the companion crusades continue with the arrival of a knight. His name, Paladin Danse, a member of the Brotherhood of Steel who's incapable of removing his power armor because it's fused to his skeleton. Now that's dedication to the cause. With interest, I proposed he join me for a week of knightly endeavors, and he accepted graciously. As we traveled, I learned his ideals meant everything to him, and in an effort not to be left out, I followed suit. I donned a blade, threw it on the workbench, and made a gun out of it, causing Danse to foam at the mouth with joy. Next, we swept through the wastelands to clear out the filth, though I feel like Danse kind of took it too far. Nevertheless, we powered through, getting stronger the longer we traveled together. And I'd try cracking jokes along the way, but the Danse stood firm with disapproval. And as the week rounded out, I found myself rating the totalitarian Buzz Lightyear as an accidental Blade Runner. 11 weeks in the Commonwealth and my sanity is lost. To regain it, I must find the right companion, and so she emerged. Curie, a Miss Nanny with the power of the greatest minds, but can she save me from myself? Well, we joined forces to find out. We set off, and immediately I saw a problem, that being Curie was wildly naive to the new world and its hostility, and yet her aura made me feel as though we could actually tame that hostility. But if we couldn't, Curie packed so many meds that we needn't worry. We spent the week having genuine conversations with the Commonwealth folk, helping those in need, and becoming one with nature. All these connections made Curie more human than ever before, and I saw her evolve before my eyes into the beautiful French lady that she always was. Her gentle presence succeeded, and my sanity was found, and so I granted her the rating of Guardian Angel. Week 12, and I'm still searching for partners in crime in the Commonwealth, and as luck would have it, I found yet another candidate. This week, Cait the Bruiser, a Fight Club enthusiast who never lets her Irish blood settle because
Only thing better than getting pissed is picking a fight. Am I right?
Now, seeing as she was having some business troubles, I settled the score, which left her free to treat me with a classic pub crawl, and thus we spent the week as drinking buddies, where we shared stories and shared pain. Our camaraderie was confusing to Cait, as trust was not a word she'd ever used to describe someone before, and yet here I was with max charisma and alcoholic potency. That's the power of a Guinness. After a few days of drug-assisted fighting, we ran into Cait's parents, where Cait kindly rewarded their abuse with a bit of added interest. Our time together had my trigger finger giddy with speed, and with everything tallied, I rated her as the Irish Dame of Sugar and Spite. 13 weeks in the Commonwealth, and I found one last companion to judge. So before I venture to countless new lands to stir up chaos, meet Strong, a super mutant of the Institute variety with an unhealthy addiction to Shakespeare.
Milk makes humans strong.
I may have found myself in a difficult situation. So we set off on a dauntless task of finding milk, and not any milk will do. I tried giving him Brahmin milk, but Strong wasn't convinced. So we tried the abandoned supermarket, but all it had was skim milk and was therefore worthless. As I continued to lockpick through fridge doors to steal obscene amounts of empty milk bottles, I could feel Strong critiquing me with jaded eyes. So much so, I went berserk, and in classic Shakespearean style, I laid waste and made a tragedy. Turns out, that's exactly what Strong wanted to see. No milk required. And for that, I rate him as
You a mean green fight machine.
companions. They're a necessary asset on the field, depending on what you need. Someone to watch your back, or someone to be a decoy in combat, to each their own. But this week I ventured out of the Commonwealth and into the Nuka world, where I found myself face to face with Porter Gage, a raider with a taste for cola and violence. Gage wanted to work with me, and as I was still weak with Preston Garvey trauma, I fell to the dark side and joined the gang. Bloody weirdos, all of them. But never mind that, as we kicked off the week with a large helping of amusement park antics such as shooting galleries, overtly dangerous rides, and slightly disturbing artwork before taking a stroll through settlements to harass the good people. Gage looked down on my use of chems and liquor to forget my atrocities, but at least my combat skill was improving. But nothing lasts forever, and as a shot rang out, I saw Gage hit the floor and Garvey emerge from the shadows. So as I was dragged away by Garvey once again, I rate Gage as a war boy wannabe.
I live, I die, I live again.
We're back hunting for companions, and Garvey has sent me to help people to make up for my raider phase last week. And so I arrived at an island that locals call Fahaba or something.
Fahaba.
All I knew was I needed a drink right quick, so I hit up the bar, the perfect place for drinking and making pals. And I found both in the form of an old Longfellow, a hunter with a love for lever actions and travel music. As am I. The two of us quickly struck up a kinship, which mainly revolved around drinking excessively and helping Longfellow with his desire to reduce the children of Adam down to atoms. It didn't take long for us to form a familial bond, and I was taught how to be a menace to the mutated wildlife, all while staving off insanity from aggressively inhaling toxic fog. After dealing with a few over-the-top mutations and gathering junk to Longfellow's approval, I knew I could trust the man, and happily gave Longfellow a rating of the classic. Only one companion remains in the Commonwealth for me to judge. The one in question, a humble assaultron by the name of Ada, who I found after following a distress signal with Ada at the center, surrounded by corpses. Needless to say, I was hooked, and we embarked on a journey to fight off the dangers of the Commonwealth until we ultimately became the dangers of the Commonwealth. But I wasn't thinking about that, no. Rather, I was more focused on how Ada so enthusiastically became my partner in crime, helping to lockpick, steal, hack, murder, whatever I wanted, really. Ada didn't seem to care. In a sense, she was perfect. Too perfect. She'd become a walking catastrophe of my own design, and why have one Ada when I could have an army? And so, after the two of us helped to cause a second nuclear apocalypse, I could only rate Ada as the fourth horseman.